So I'm Tim Trapp. I lead the quality team for Fisher Price at the company Mattel. And while being in charge of the department, quite a large department, I'm also a father and a husband. And I felt that balancing just the hectic everyday life, I knew what I had to do every day, but I felt like I sort of lost my purpose in what
Mhm.
I was wanting to do. And while doing that, making sure I was like achieving my life goals and what is a priority for me versus just like what is the priority to get the job done that day or that project done, or even, for my family too. Like sometimes there's a priority of it's just really easy to get lost in the day-to-day grind, and it's wears you out after time and you just get tired, and then you have a moment where you sort of realize like, wow, what am I actually doing here? And when I saw the strategic planning for life training that was offered through Mattel, it just felt really like a good fit for where I was in life, both professionally and personally. And that's why I jumped on it. I didn't know where it would actually take me, and I was
Yeah.
super pleased with where we went with the sessions.
Good. Which part of the process do you feel like added the most value to unlocking insight for you during the program?
So I actually have like two for this one. So first was the group sessions. I think it was really like it was a small cohort within Mattel, and
Mhm.
we were really helping each other, which I thought was really great because we were going through like some tough times with the company, and it helped to be therapeutic for each other. But for me personally, it was the exercises and the self-reflection that was the most valuable.
Mhm.
And I really forced myself to like go all in here. Like I would not be at my computer. I'd be like disconnected, off the grid, using the paper book for like the reading and reflection. And just staying away from technology like sort of helped me because there's just so many distractions
Mhm.
in life, and that's part of what some of my issues are. So setting the time, scheduling the time, but then also not even feeling pressured too, because I would schedule the time and like say that hour I just wasn't in the right mental state to do it. I would reschedule time, and I would literally like not sit at my normal desk where I would do work. I would go somewhere else where the computer isn't in front of me. And when I was doing the self reflection, I feel I was able to truly look at myself and look at my relationships and my goals. And if I would have just sort of done it in a setting with other people or being connected on Zoom, I don't think I would have been go as deep or be as reflective about where I am in my life and where I want to be, both personally and professionally.
Did you find it hard at first to kind of pull that out? Because I know when I did the program, and we've had some other people say, you think you know yourself the best, but once you get in there and you're faced with these questions that you have to dig deep, was it kind of hard sometimes to be like, oh, I'm not sure, and then really having to dig down, or did you find that very easy to answer those things about yourself?
I think it was a little hard at first, and like when I look at what I wrote down in the beginning of the program, it was less like from a content wise and less deep, uh, to where then I ended up and just sort of trusting the process and going through the exercises, and like knowing that it is a process, right? So you're defining your life, what's important to you, and you're not just doing it all together. And then that's also where the group sessions help too, because some of them where you maybe felt a little bit later on, someone might say something, and then it would inspire me to go back and think,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I could have wrote that down, or I could have thought about it that way. So I love the whole like go off, do your own thinking, be critical on yourself, but then be able to talk about it with a group versus just like one on one with Krista. I think was good too because having the whole cohort and doing it together was very helpful.
Yeah. And it is funny because we say those unlocks, and they really are because they're pieces that like you said, if someone brings something up, it kind of does unlock something for you. I didn't think about it that way. And it's so
Right.
nice to have that community to kind of bounce things off one another. Was there one piece of the course material where you felt like you had the most unlock for yourself?
Um, it was really interesting thinking about tying it actually to some of the other like training or like personality tests that I did,
Mhm.
and looking at one for me was I've done a strength finder
Yeah.
test,
Hmm.
And like in the unlock and when I write my intentions, one of the things that came out is I love meeting people and interacting with people, but what's more important to me in my value system is just having really close relationships, not
Hmm.
having many different relationships. And I've always sort of felt that way, but going through the session, it unlocked that for me of like, well, that's why it's really important to me because it's just sort of how I'm wired and what some of my strengths are is I would rather have those close professional and personal relationships than a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I knew that in my head, but I never really articulated it or put it on paper um, or had that revelation either. So the process sort of helped me to do that, define what's important to me. And I knew I'm always social, but it just like it sort of was at odds with each other before of previous sessions or
Yeah.
previous tools that I've used in training. So
That's amazing. Yeah. And so that makes me want to ask, if you had to compare this to other programs you've taken or courses, what made this different from those courses that you've participated in, in the past?
what was really interesting for me is like I said, I enjoyed the group settings, and I feel like if we were stuck to like sometimes we were stuck to the agenda, right? Like this week we're talking about this, but there
Hmm.
was the flexibility to say like what's going on in your life or your day or your week. And I felt like we were structured when we needed it, but we were also safe to dive deep and like what was going on in our life too.
Yeah.
So especially with Zoom sessions and training now, like it's very transactional. Where
Hmm.
this felt very personal, even though it was through Zoom. And for me too, was nice too, is we sort of formed a cohort and like we plan to meet regularly after the program is over.
Oh, good.
So having that relationship come out of it was one of the I think the best benefits. And I knew some of the people,
Hmm.
but I didn't know them on this level. So now like you have this other, I'll say little circle of people you can trust and go to that maybe we don't always work together professionally, but you have a personal connection with that you can talk things through or ask for advice or help. And I think it's going to benefit my career with Mattel.
Yeah. That kind of opens that door for you to have that connection with those individuals because you're all striving for the same thing and you're doing that work together that, it forms this bond that is really just incredible that you guys have now.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I am actually like by personality trait, I'm an introvert. So
Hmm.
like going out there and putting myself out there takes energy away
Yeah.
from me versus building energy. But I do, like I said, place values on relationships. So this training sort of helped me there too, because sometimes it's just the loudest voice in the room.
Hmm.
It does everything and like being a long session. Two, like I can pull it together for a couple hours, a couple days, but to stretch it all out traditionally I would shy away from like a training like this and being very vocal and participating. I'd be more taking a back seat, watching, observing, then doing the self-reflection myself. But the way the course was structured, I felt very safe and comfortable to share and contribute in the group sessions where maybe in the past I would not.
Yeah, that's great. And I always like, at least for me, going through my drives and drains during the program was really eye-opening because, the things that you think you love the most can also be the things that are draining you. It's like you said, you're very social, but sometimes that's draining. So it's just nice to have that in front of you to see like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a really big drive for me, but I need to balance that out so it doesn't become a drain.
Yeah.
So, um, was there a part of your life, it could be professionally or, with your family, that was impacted the most, do you think, by taking this course?
Professionally, I have a lot of evening calls.
Mhm.
And this directly competes with like my life goal of spending time with my family and also having a healthy life, like
Yeah.
even just eating healthy food, getting exercise, mental breaks from work. So the direct impact is just feeling comfortable scheduling my time. Like if
Mhm.
sometimes I can't eliminate those night calls, they're required, but I can choose to leave work a little bit early in the afternoon and make that time for my family or myself and also being traditionally in an engineering technical role like you
Mhm.
you you fall into sort of engineers are there early and they're doing their job, and like you can't go to the gym at 9:30 in the morning, but I felt I could, and I unlocked that with my life of taking the power and controlling my calendar even more to say, like, if I'm going to get a workout in today, it's going to be mid-morning, and I don't feel guilty about it. And I don't
Yeah.
feel guilty about leaving at 3:30 to get home to my daughter's soccer practice or to be able to actually eat dinner with the family at the table versus just sort of conforming to what work will always throw at you because there's always going to be more with work. So I feel like that was something that I unlocked with this training that I implemented right away, and that I felt the mental relief, and I saw the balance in my life swing immediately in the way I wanted to go, like where I intentionally wanted it to be living my life and how I wanted to be living my life.
And you're probably being a better employee now because you have that balance. And most people think like, oh, if I'm not at that meeting at that time, or I, take that time out of the day to go do these things or be at the dinner table, I'm not getting enough done. Do you feel that that's been the opposite? Like you feel like you're more balanced, you're getting more done, you're being a better employee now because you're living your life more in intention?
I do. I feel I'm being a better boss and a leader too. Like being the leader of the department, I encourage my team to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I love when I see someone on my team that's maybe not even a direct report, but a subordinate underneath me there, like, and they see it's okay that you're at the gym at 9:30 in the morning, or
Yeah.
see it's okay to leave early, but no, you're still getting the job done. And what's really helped that is over the past few years and coming out of the pandemic, like you don't fall into that traditional 9 to 5 role anymore. And that's okay. And we've afforded ourselves that flexibility by being accountable and getting the job done too. But you don't need to do both, right? You don't need to be accountable, get the job done, and be at your desk from 9 to 5. So that's not what the company is asking you to do, and that's not what I'm asking you to do. So sort of leading it by example has been the most rewarding thing for
Yeah.
me
And
too, because I feel not only myself it's helped, but it's helped the team to be a better team as well.
yeah, what a huge ripple effect you're leaving, because that is like showing them by example. I used to work somewhere where it was 8 to 5 and you don't get up and this is your, and then I transitioned to what you're doing now. And at first it was very hard for me to be like, you do not have to be in front of your computer from 8 to 5. You can go take a walk. You can do this. And I'm still getting the same work done. But, Krista and Phil really, no, we want you to do those things. And honestly, I feel like I'm a better employee. I'm a better mom now, I'm a better wife, a friend, all these different areas. And I'm still getting all that stuff done for work. But it was so funny how my brain had been so trained that it was 8 to 5. So I just applaud you for, being that example for the people who are underneath you and your friends and family, because that is a huge step to take. And, people probably think it's super easy, but it's not, and it takes work. So I'm just applauding you for being that example for the people that you're around.
Yeah,
Do
it's been really helpful, and like kind of even going back to your question from before, like to me the exercise 10, which was intentions for life,
yeah,
I felt like that was really the biggest sort of eye opener for me. And going on what we are just talking about, you can measure success not through just the eyes of others, but
yeah,
really just through my eyes, my lens, and the people that are closest to me. So sometimes you don't have to always worry exactly what your boss perceives of you. You
yeah,
can set that yourself too. And the realization that I can still be successful and set my goals based on my values and my personality is leading me down this path to have a better life, for not
yeah,
just for myself, but for the people that matter most to me.
yeah. Like your kids are seeing you do this, and that is such a huge, thing that you're showing them. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and having like night calls too, there'd be times I try and balance both, where it's like I'm on the phone putting the kids to bed and having to tell the kids like, oh, be quiet, daddy's on the phone with his friends from China. Like I
hmm,
don't want to do that
yeah,
anymore. So like a simple tactical strategy is don't start the call at 8:30, start it at 8:35.
yep,
And like that 5 minutes like affords me, and it's only 5 minutes, but like to put my 9-year-old daughter to bed and not have to be on the phone when we're doing that. And like it's just worked, and it's something like so simple, but it
yeah.
works.
What a simple change, but it's making such a huge impact. That's amazing. I love that. Did you start to see changes happen rather quickly? Did it take a few weeks, or was it like a mixture of both?
It was a mixture of both, and I found like it wasn't so much like where we were in the process of the training, but like what was I committing myself to do, and realizing that I'm in control of my life. I can do these things. I can set my priorities. I can manage my calendar. I control where I spend my time and energy. So it's sort of like all I feel it's coming together
Yeah.
full circle now, or from full swing now. But even just like I said, after like the whole life intentions, I felt that's where it really started to swing into play, and I felt very empowered to control what I was doing. So maybe after that exercise 10 intentions for life.
Yeah, we always tell everybody, it's not just a 9-week course. This really is a life change. So, you have to you can't just do the book. Okay, I have it. And then, shove it aside. You have to keep practicing these things and, bringing that into your life and doing the work and making those changes. What have you been doing to help you continue, your growth since you've finished the program?
But I've been talking about it, right? The training. So like I'm talking about with my wife and like what the training was, and then our close friends too, who we have 3 kids and our close friends have 4 kids. And one of the things we talk about is we don't get to hang out as much.
Yeah.
And some of it is just you need to, there's always gonna be more stuff with the kids. Life is
Yeah.
always just gonna get busier. So we have to be intentional, and using the word intentional is something that sort of came from this training of being intentional with your time and what you do and what you want to do. And so just talking about the program has sort of kept me in it, and kept me going and wanting to share what the program has done for me. And then professionally, I have 2 senior managers underneath me that are going to sign up for the program as well, through Mattel,
Oh,
because I
good.
talked to them about it, and they're both dads that both have similar balances. One is like in a similar point in his life to me, another one is in a different stage of life. But I think both of them can absolutely benefit from it, because I see some of the signs of burnout and stress and just trying
Mhm.
to be all things to all people. And also know that they're different personalities than me too. So I'm really curious to see how they go
Yeah.
through the process, because like I said, I'm the introvert. They might not be. I actually don't know what their personalities are and everything. So I'm really curious to see how they go through and what they reflect on as they go through the process.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it is funny because like when I got done too, I was thinking, I just want to share this with everybody because it did unlock so much for me and it was such a change. You do want to share it out. And I'm sure that will help you because now they'll understand, the things that you've gone through and your values and what you guys are all trying to work for. That I think that does help. And like you were saying with your friends, it's funny, just like you were saying, moving that meeting back, 5 minutes, because we did the same thing with our friends, but just getting creative with it, you can work your family time in and throw, let's say you have to go to a ball game, they can come with you or whatever. And just making that all intentional it's amazing how much that can change things for you.
Yeah, 100%. And for me too, I'm also currently working on my certificate of professional development through Wharton, which is awesome from a tactical business theory side, and like the psychological side of being a leader, and lots of really great business school things that I'm learning. But the strategic planning for life really, I think, was a good complement to that on my leadership development of being a very well-rounded person. And like I'm not the leader that's going to rule a certain way, right? And like I'm more about forming the relationships and bringing the team on and coaching and development, and knowing that there could be different types of leaders. Like there's not just a cookie cutter formula for a CEO, or a senior vice president, or C-suite person, that all the different personalities can be successful
Hmm.
based on achieving the goals, and you can be happy and lead a rewarding life while being on that track too.
Yeah. And I always think like knowing what people value and what they're working for was also always valuable for me when I was leading a team to be like, oh, okay, you value this and you really enjoy this. Let's put you on this project, or you could take care of this thing because it does align more with your values instead of them being on something they don't really enjoy and having burnout, you might have the perfect person for something that you didn't know they would even enjoy. And this kind of just opens that to give you a different view of what everybody's good at, what they enjoy, and keeping everybody moving and having a good positive attitude about it. Um, if you if someone came to you right now and said, I'm thinking about taking this course, what do you think about it? What do you recommend? What would you say to them?
If you were to sign up for a strategic planning for life, I would say absolutely you should do it, but you need to be all in
Mhm.
when you do it. It's not something to do between meetings or to multitask and answer emails when you're on a Zoom call. What worked for me was setting the time aside to be on the Zoom call and be present in the group discussions, but then also doing the self-reflection and exercises on your own. So I scheduled time in my calendar. I took a break from technology and I committed to it. And when you're signing up for things, especially in a time of you might be signing up for this training when your life is just crazy,
Yeah.
I would say do it because it's really going to help you to maybe control some of that craziness or at least to understand where it's coming from and hopefully give you the tools and the ability to take back control from some of the craziness that you might be living right now. And I'm a more in-person person for sure with doing things like this, but Zoom worked because of the way the training was. It was both your time for the self-reflection, your own exercises, and then the group meeting with Zoom was great to talk about it and form that cohort. And I thought it was really good with the size of the cohort too. It was enough people that if you didn't feel like talking that day, that was okay.
Yeah.
But it was also intimate enough that you could feel safe to share whatever was on your mind that week and after the self-reflection or what was going on with work or even in your personal life.
Yeah. And I love that advice you give. Make that time for yourself. And I know at some, life's always crazy. Like, when am I going to get that? Well, you can be creative with that and give yourself that space. Go grab a coffee and say, I'm going to go sit outside for 10 minutes, or, I'm going to have these questions in my head. I'm going to go for a walk. But like you said, having that clear space for yourself because you don't want to be rushing it, you need to take that time to really reflect. But sometimes the craziness is because you're not giving yourself that space. So this kind of starts to get you in the habit of giving yourself that space to start thinking about these things. That's really good. I like that. Is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't discussed about the program?
Yeah, one thing that came up in the group sessions about me is I coined the frame. One thing that came up in the group sessions about me was I coined the phrase JOMO, which is joy of missing out. And it's something that my wife and I talk about it because she has the opposite, which is FOMO, fear of missing out. But I'm totally a person that like I don't really care to post on social media. I'm okay leaving the party early, but from this session and this training, I found out maybe why I'm like that because I do come across socially as an extrovert, but it does suck energy from me to
Mhm.
be part of these events. But I do gain energy when I have close relationships. And so like maybe not necessarily making new friends, but having new friends or friends that have close relationships, that's what adds value to my life.
Yeah.
And going through the session sort of helped me to further understand why I have this JOMO or joy of missing out
Mhm.
versus the opposite of what everyone tends to have is FOMO or fear of missing out.
Yeah. That's my husband, and your wife is me. And it is nice because I had my husband do it too. And he found out things like that too. And it was nice for me to be able to understand, because I'm always go, 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 let's be around a million people. And he's the opposite. And it was really good to unlock that. Okay, well, we need that balance. And I understand why now. And it's good to see it that way. But that is funny, the Jomo. I'm going to remember that. But yeah, I love those unlocks that you get. And that was really like my drives and drains too, because I love to be around people, but then sometimes it's too much. And it's just really good to be able to see those things about you and kind of put some understanding around that.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. I loved having this conversation with you, and I hope you continue to do it yourself. And I can't wait to hear how your two reports go through the course and what they think about it. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they say too and be able to talk to them about, the different exercises and what they think and their reflection of it too. I think one is a very similar stage in life to me with the age of his kids and even how old he is. Another one, his kids are in college, and he's got different stuff going on, and
Yeah.
he's actually in a different location than me geographically. So like we only really have a relationship on Zoom. He comes to town
Yeah.
every now and then. But it'll be really interesting to see what they both think of it. I think they're gonna love it, but in different ways.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. And I can't wait for you to give us an update on that. So,
Happy to do so.
all right, thank you.